Welcome to Kid Missing TV. I'm your host, Angelina Wilson. Today we're going to talk about the case of Danny Barter. Danny disappeared on Perdidio Bay, Alabama, June of 1959. His family was on a camping trip there, and in my research I discovered that it's actually on the border of Alabama and Florida. So it would be pretty easy for someone to take Danny from there and disappear. They could disappear straight into Florida. And at that time, it wasn't like it is now with the FBI everywhere and heavily involved in child abductions like they are today. So it would have been much easier. Now, Daniel was born in December of 1954. My mother was actually born in July of that year. So, matter of fact, my aunt was born in December of 54. So, he's the same age. Now, interestingly, first of all, it's about 9:45 in the morning when they were preparing to go fishing, when they realized Danny was gone. It was only about 15 minutes that had passed to when his brothers had seen him. Excuse me. There was a route number. I lost it. Oh, US 98, the bridge, straight into Florida, as I mentioned, was right there. Now, by all accounts, Danny was afraid of the water. He would not have gone near the water on his own. In fact, he was in boxer shorts and bare feet because he had kind of slept in a little. Him and the other kids slept in the uncle's car rather than on the ground. And there were no little footprints leading to the water anyway. As a matter of fact, he was tracked by dogs to the road. A pickup truck, was seen with a man and a woman in it, riding down the campground road, which is highly unusual because very few people ever travel that road. So it made the Barters kind of take notice. Again, he was with his uncle, his cousins, his mom and dad. That's not unusual from where I stand, because I grew up that way. Chances are, if we were doing a family event, we were doing it with my uncle and my cousins. So I don't find that unusual at all. Case is open because it was reopened in 2009 by the FBI. That same year, Anderson Cooper 360, or AC 360, did a report on the case. So it finally got some much needed national media attention, which was unbelievable. Danny's mom said, oh, he was such a pretty child. That's probably why he was taken. Somebody wanted a pretty child. That's very plausible that someone took him to raise him, especially if it was the couple that was seen. Now, if they had gotten a license plate, they might have been able to look it up, might have been able to find out whether they were just campers passing through or what the heck was going on. Nobody thinks of those things, you know? Again, Danny was only 4 years old. If you have any information in Danny's case, please call the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office at 251-937-0210, the Mobile District FBI Office at 251-438-3674, and there is a $5,000 reward. I want to thank my friend, Lynn Hansen, for introducing me to Danny's case at the same time that she introduced me to Mississippi Delta Dawn, a case that we covered together on Kid Missing Radio, which I recently turned into a video. I would recommend looking for DannyBarter.com in the Wayback Machine, because I'm not sure it's still up and running. His family's pretty determined. And again, as long as families are determined, we're determined. Danny was tiny. He was 3 feet tall and he weighed 50 pounds. So he was an itty bitty. He was from Mobile, Alabama, which is like the bottom city in Alabama. Doesn't get any further south, unless of course you're, in the water. Which makes it weird that he was afraid of the water, because it's where he'd always been. I mean, he lived in Mobile, Alabama. But he was. And his mom truly believes someone raised him. And if that's the case, he's 66 years old. He's out there somewhere. I actually do believe that. I do subscribe to that theory. Now I'd like to talk to you about the case of Taj Narbonne. He was 9 years old when he disappeared from Leominster, Massachusetts. So this is kind of a local case. It's kind of an extra added on to what we just did, because that was such a quick case. Taj disappeared on March 30th, 1981. Again, he was 9 years old. The very day before, his mother and stepfather had taken him back home. His stepfather had said, I want to make amends with him, blah, 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 because there had been a lot of issues between the two. The stepfather had been very mean to him, possibly physically abusive, and he had been staying with his grandparents. They all told him he had to go home, much to his chagrin. He went home. And disappeared that night. Now, if he were going to run away, which is one of the suppositions in this case, he probably would have gone straight back to Grammy's. I believe he did run to Grammy's one other time. So, just to get away from Clarence Dean, the stepfather, who was not a very nice man. We know this. He's in jail because he's not a very nice man, which we'll get to. He used to call Taj things like White King and other racially charged things. So it can go both ways. He was a black man. It can go both ways. Taj, again, didn't want to be at home. Very last thing, okay, before I get to that. It was around 1:30 in the morning that Mom woke up to find Stepdad not in the bed. Where are you? She got up, walked down the hallway, he jumped out and scared the crap out of her. She said, what are you doing? And there was nothing more to it. Went to bed. When they got up for the day, Taj was nowhere to be found. My question is, in a small apartment, if Mom was there when something happened, how could she possibly not have heard it? Because the greatest theory, in this case the biggest theory, the most often posited theory, is that Stepdad did away with him. There are no suspects in this case. Stepdad is probably a person of interest, but not a suspect, because they don't have the evidence. I know prior bad acts can be used. he, after the fact, kidnapped the mother, stabbed the mother. And keep in mind, she wasn't only Taj's mother, she was the mother of his children as well. So, it's crazy. So he's currently in prison for those crimes. So, why not go to him, talk to him, find out if he will hopefully tell you where Taj is. Whether he gave him away, or whether he did, in fact, end his young life. Whatever the case. Give those grandparents a rest. Give that mother a rest. Let them properly bury that child. Excuse me. Again, if there are any updates on either of these cases, we'll let you know. If you have any information in Taj's case, you can call the Leominster Police Department. I unfortunately do not have the phone number in front of me. I want to thank you for joining me. I want you to have a wonderful day. God bless you. Remember, mask up MA and get those shots. Goodbye and God bless.